There is a good chance that Charley already knows Dexter is the Bay Harbour Butcher. A person as cautious and calculating as she is unlikely to miss her mark. But before we examine the clues that would reveal Dexter's secret, let's look at her background. Though Charley is mysterious, we do know some things about her. First, she is a highly capable woman who was taken on by Leon Prater to be the head of security at his estate. She has a special set of skills that set her apart from everyone around her, and so far it's been made known that she is a former special ops agent with a handy bag of tools to get her tasks done. Charley isn't just the head of security for Leon. She is his fixer who can solve problems with excellent efficiency and precision. When we first meet her, she is on a mission to deliver an invitation to Red on behalf of Prater. In the course of doing so, some of her skills are on full display. Ronald Red Schmidt was a serial killer who had been haunting New York City by killing rideshare drivers. He had his reasons, but they weren't good enough to save him from Dexter. Red lost his father when he was younger. His father was a taxi cab driver in New York City. He spent all of his life savings earning his taxi medallion, but all of that hard work was washed away in an instant with the introduction of the Your Car and similar services. When those became available, people opted for them over taxis, and that left him with no job, no money, and no hope. As a result, he killed himself. Red's father jumped into the East River, leaving Red and his brother fatherless and heartbroken. So Red decided to exact his revenge. He didn't see the drivers as hardworking, innocent people. He saw them as the reason for his pain and suffering. He began eliminating them one by one to take from them what he thought they had taken from him. Many of the drivers had pictures of their children on their dashboards. It helped with tips. But for Red, they were nothing more than justifications for what he planned to do to them. He would kill the drivers, typically men, but before he did so, he would ask them who would miss them when they were gone.
Who is going to miss you when you're gone?
Their children would be as broken as him and his brother were when their father died. He thought they deserved it. In his eyes, it was because of them that his father took his own life, thereby ruining his. He never got over it. Instead, he started taking out the drivers to repay their families the loss he'd suffered. But he didn't understand just how wrong he was. Once Dexter got him on his table, he informed Red that those Your Car workers were not responsible for his father's death right before he killed him.
Those drivers you killed had nothing to do with your dad.
Red's story would have been over, but Dexter stole his identity, intending to trick Charley into believing that he was the dark passenger she delivered the invitation to. In doing so, he was tricking Prater as well. But something tells me Charley already knew that Dexter was not Red. Charley has a skill set unlike anyone in the show. Her capabilities far exceed that of even Miami Metro's finest. Because of her special ops training, she is able to pull things off that others could not. Accessing Red's home is no small feat, but for Charley, it was child's play. She donned a mask, anticipating cameras. She had a device to crack the code to his door lock without leaving so much as a fingerprint. Before you watch any further, I'm happy to finally announce that I'm releasing the first limited drop of my t-shirts. At the start, there are only 100 available, so make sure you buy them while you can at dtmerch.store. Enjoy the video. She checked the entire house for surveillance before removing her mask. As soon as she confirmed that the coast was clear, she began looking for confirmation that Red was who Prater thought he was by locating his trophies. It is important to note that Charley's boss, Leon Prater, is obsessed with serial killers. He had memorabilia for everyone from John Wayne Gacy to the ice truck killer. He also had the framing hammer that the Trinity Killer used on his last adult male victim. Charley states that it took her 3 weeks to track down Ronald Red Schmidt and deliver the invitation.
Only took me 3 weeks.
Only took me 3 days.
She must have done as much research on him as humanly possible. So is it likely that she would mistake Red for another man? Namely Dexter Morgan, another serial killer? What are the odds that she would have done so much research to hunt Red down only to confuse him with someone else? He and Dexter do share somewhat of a resemblance, so it's not impossible she would confuse one for the other, but it's highly improbable. Was Charley already searching for Dexter? After all, the first place she searches for Red's trophies is inside the air conditioning unit, which is not the most obvious place, though it would make sense to look in there, especially if you have Charley's attention to detail. Not to mention, that's exactly where Dokes looked when he was looking for Dexter's trophies. It would make even more sense if she had prior knowledge of who Dexter Morgan was, the true dark passenger. Who else hides their trophies inside an air conditioning unit? She did go through the entire house, but why was that the first place she checked? It's possible that she could have believed that Red, the dark passenger, and Dexter were one and the same. but it's still more likely that she knew who Dexter was and would therefore have known that he would take Red out if they ever crossed paths. Charley has always shown a disgust for the killers around her. It's not clear why exactly. Perhaps she's just a normal human being. Who wouldn't be disgusted by a serial killer? Or perhaps her life was impacted by a serial killer in the past. When she finds Red's trophies, she calls him a fucking psycho.
Fucking psycho.
When she confronts Keith, the can clubber, she kills him with very little provocation. When she is patting Dexter down before he enters Prater's home, she finds Red's trophy in his pocket, and her face is contorted in disgust. Her disdain for killers is made even more obvious when Prater invites Dexter into his vault. There, Prater keeps all of the memorabilia he'd collected from serial killers over the years. Prater points out that Charley has a distaste for it before he and Dexter enter, and she promptly excuses herself before it is opened.
I'll take my leave of you gentlemen.
It's obvious that she doesn't want to be involved at all with the killers, their trophies, or anything to do with them outside of her job responsibilities. Not only that, but considering that her boss had Trinity's hammer and knew that he killed in sets of 4, it's fair to assume that even he may have known who Dexter really was. Remember that in season 6 of the original series, Trinity's son Jonah and his family figured out who Dexter was following Rita's death. When Dexter tracks him down in Nebraska after his mother and sister died, Jonah informs him that his face was all over the news after his wife was murdered.
This was all over the news as her grieving husband.
And that clued them into the fact that he was not Kyle Butler, but actually Dexter Morgan. Molly Park believed that the Bay Harbour Butcher could still be alive. Before her death, she speculated on her podcast, Marry, Fuck, Kill, that James Doakes could have been framed, even mentioning the fact that he was out of the state when some of the Butcher's victims were killed. It's also important to note that, like Charley, Doakes was also ex-Special Ops. They could have had some of the same connections. But of all of those people who were able to put that together so quickly, it would make no sense that a man with the resources and reach of Leon Prater and his head of security, Charley, would have missed it. Could this just be another plot hole, or were Charley and Prater on to Dexter the whole time? If she did know Dexter's true identity, that would explain a lot. The Bay Harbour Butcher kills killers. If she dislikes killers as much as she seems to, Dexter would be a perfect person to run into. She would be able to get them taken out without ever getting her hands dirty. Again, she tracked Red for weeks. She had to have a pretty clear idea of what his face looked like. And despite their similarities, Dexter and Red still had distinguishing features from one another. Charley pays close attention to detail for a living. She is incredibly talented and usually very accurate. How likely is it for her not to realize that she is picking up someone other than the man she has been stalking for almost a month?
You were a tricky one. Not a single photo online?
It seems pretty obvious that she knows Dexter's true identity. Even if she doesn't know everything about Dexter, which she very well might, she knows enough about Red to recognize his face and patterns. And his patterns certainly changed after Dexter killed him. Red had a job. Were they not concerned when he didn't return? He had been on a killing spree of your car drivers. Wouldn't Charley and Prater notice that suddenly stopped? And he lived in New York City. He had an apartment there. Dexter never went back there, so wouldn't Charley wonder why he never went back to his place? After the initial dinner party at Prater's, all of the guests were given phones so they could stay in touch. Phones can be tracked, so it wouldn't even be necessary for Charley to follow each of the killers individually to know where they were at all times. If Red never returned to his apartment, or suddenly started going to another one over and over again, she would know. She does know. It's her job to know. She knew where everyone was, even Mia, immediately after she was arrested. Almost every time Dexter comes home, his new friend Blessing, who is also his landlord, greets him through a Ring camera, often using his name.
Dexter, my friend, what's the matter?
All Charley would need to do is be in earshot to hear Dexter being called by his real name. The likelihood of her not knowing who Dexter really was is less and less probable. Finally, in episode 5, we see Charley visit her sick mother in the hospital as she battles cancer. She lies about being an elementary school teacher to make her mother happy. This shows a glimmer of humanity in Charley that was otherwise invisible. She's still a hardened enforcer for a billionaire, and she is very good at her job. If she is as good as she appears to be and is as disgusted with killers as she seems, she almost certainly knows who Dexter Morgan is and that he is the Bay Harbour Butcher, the true Dark Passenger. Why she and Prater would allow him to masquerade as Red, however, is still unclear. Perhaps the next episode will fill in the blanks. If you enjoyed this video and want to see every new killer explained, click the video on the screen.